Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I just got my 10-year-old McDonald's because if I don't do it, I will be held accountable around this house. This kid expects it on Friday morning. Okay, there is a ton going on. I'm having flashbacks of the financial crisis, but guess what? This time, I kind of saw it coming. Liquidity is disappearing but this time's different also, by the way. Liquidity is disappearing all around the board. S&P 500 lost $600 billion in 2 hours. Crypto markets down $40 billion. Four biggest banks in the U.S. down $50 billion. Bond markets trading like meme stocks. All buyers are gone as inflation is here to stay. This comes after what appears to be a historic move in markets. Bank deposits just fell for the first time since 1948. More specifically, accounts with 250,000 plus contributed the most to this. Okay, so that right there is in direct. If you remember, that right there is in direct reaction to this video. You'll remember. Watch.
It's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be. And it could be an early warning signal to the FDIC and the primary regulators when these things happen. And there may be some other prices. This is similar to what Jay was saying in the market that you can tell whether people understand who's going to be protected, who isn't going to be protected.
Right. So he says bail-ins are going to happen.
People need to know, but I don't think you have much hope of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know.
I completely agree with that. I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? Like, my insurance company doesn't tell me what they're doing with my assets. They just assume they're going to pay my claim.
Okay, but that conversation was basically, let's not tell the public, let's keep this to ourselves, and don't worry, all of our friends are taken care of because they're in the know. And then of course, yesterday you had $47 billion in market value lost by the top four banks right there. Then look at this chart from the FDIC. Look at 2008, unrealized gains or losses on investment securities by banks. Look right here, that's 2008. This is right now. Unbelievable. And all this is, by the way, all of this is created by your central bank. They left interest rates at zero and printed money for how many years since the financial crisis? Years, folks, years. And all those jerks on CNBC, the Steve Leismans, they acted like that was just normal. That's just the way this works. And now they're going to cover the collapse of the banks and maybe the freaking financial system as they act like they're innocent bystanders and they're there to help you figure all this out. It's complete crap. Jason Cousins from Glint, who is one of my sponsors, warning your assets are at risk. Look at this. Investors dump U.S. bank shares amid fears over the value of the bond portfolio. When people realize that there's no money in the banks, yesterday was a bank run. Began there. Federal Deposit Insurance bank regulators showed that U.S. lenders are sitting on $620 billion of combined unrealized losses. Okay, so this is one of the reasons that Glint became one of my sponsors, is because a Glint account is not a bank account. It's a way that I can have a separate account from all these banks, and in that account, I've got gold instead of worthless fiat. And also, I get a MasterCard debit card, and I'm able to buy gold within the account, save gold. I can send it, and I can spend it if things get really bad and I need to. All right, check this out. Scott Chamberlain, who is an attorney, I think he's an attorney. Let me check this out, make sure. Former lawyer, entrepreneurial fellow of this college, So, with a decision in the SEC versus Ripple seemingly nigh, I thought I'd do a stupid thing and predict 5 outcomes. Summary judgment for Chris and Brad. That's his first one. I don't think the SEC has anywhere near the evidence to support that they knowingly or recklessly sold an unregistered security. 2, summary judgment for Ripple in respect of overseas sales. Ripple's sales of XRP and overseas exchanges are not within the court's jurisdiction. A wholly new precedent would be set to deem those domestic transactions finalized in the U.S. Number 3, summary judgment dismissing the part of the case that asserts XRP itself as a security. No precedent supports the digital asset itself being a security. This claim was contrivance for the SEC not to have to prove each sale and to avoid the problem of overseas sales. What precedes is limited case about whether any of Ripple's sales of XRP in the U.S. involved an unregistered investment contract because of 2 and 3, the case settles. That's a thumbnail right there, and that's what I believe too. I happen to believe the SEC underestimated that most of Ripple's sales occurred in overseas exchanges through algorithmic trading. Once overseas and secondary market sales are excluded, there's insufficient meat left on the bone. Folks, I believe that this clip by Charles Hoskinson was the canary in the gold mine. Or coal mine. Gold mine. You like that? But I believe Charles Hoskinson, I've said on this channel before, I heard Seinfeld one time. He said, in the key in comedy, there's got to be some grain of truth in what you're saying or it's not funny because people can't identify with it. Well, same thing with rumors. My experience is that rumors aren't coming from nowhere. There's something there. And I always believed when I heard Charles Hoskinson say this, then we saw him react to the way that, I'm not going to be on stage with anybody having to do with Ripple or XRP. I always thought that was kind of an overreaction because it wasn't the people at Ripple saying anything to him. It was people online that are XRP enthusiasts. And so why would he react that way? Well, I think he would react that way if he started hearing whispers that Ripple comes out of this thing with XRP clarity, but he and the rest of the market come out of it with a target on their backs permanently, or at least for the next 2 years. This is the clip.
This one right here. Right, Charles, question for you. Yeah, Cardano's data is ruled as security by the SEC. Well, the SEC can assert it, but then they'd have to sue over it, and there'd be a long litigation process the foundation would have to fight and go through. Regulation's regulation. It's a hypothetical. And there's nothing in the history of Cardano that feels security-like. From the beginning to where it's at today, to the fact that the network is fully decentralized and so forth. I would believe that then Ethereum and Bitcoin would also be securities and they'd be in a bigger debacle. And this is a problem with regulations through enforcement. There's not much you can do. Just any given Sunday is whoever the regulator decides to pick. And then there's a big fight. $100 million is spent. It's brutal and vicious and a lot of hard feelings. And sometimes people win, sometimes people don't. I've heard rumors that the Ripple case will be settled December 15th, and we'll just see. And that could have catastrophic implications for the industry, one way or the other. But you just keep moving forward.
All right. And I believe the whispers that he was hearing is that scenario where XRP all of a sudden gets clarity. And if you look at what we're seeing right now, and I'm not saying Ripple will get a full win, but I think a partial win will put XRP in a place that no other digital asset is in at the end of this. Then along comes this yesterday from Eleanor Terrett. I think her name's Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, said she's suing KuCoin, because they let investors trade popular virtual currencies such as Ethereum, Luna, and Terius, and that her case is among the first by a regulator alleging that Ethereum is a security. And she copies Vitalik Buterin and Joseph Lubin on this to ask them their thoughts. Now, folks, there's a lot going on right here. When I saw this, it's kind of like one of those moments where all the stars align and for me, it was literally one of those moments where I was like, we've been right about every single part of this thing. Every single part. How many times have we said it was never Bitcoin, it was never Ethereum, XRP, the one? Folks, look at this. So I of course, this guy is from Coin Center. And remember, and look, I'm not one to gloat, but you know what? I think we in the XRP community deserve to be able to do a little bit of gloating here, and then we'll help fight for the whole industry. Remember, because we spent over 2 years with no help from these jerks. This guy's from Coin Center. They didn't help. They didn't do anything. Blockchain Association came in right at the end and filed an amicus brief, and then that's about it. Then we had, who's the other one? I want to make sure I name all the names. Well, anyway, I don't remember the other ones, but that's the Coin Center. These guys were Bitcoin, Ethereum maxis all the way. And the second that this thing, there's even a whiff of a threat to Ethereum, what do? Oh, we disagree with them on Ethereum being a security. They didn't do anything to help when the XRP case came about. And so my question is, hey, Coinbase, you delisted Ethereum. In fact, Brian Armstrong, you delisted XRP the second that there was a whiff of a lawsuit, okay? But Brian Armstrong had .eth in his name until he started hearing whispers that ETH might be in danger. Then he took it out. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. All it took was a suit for you to delist XRP. When are you going to delist Ethereum? That's all it took. Or relist XRP and keep Ethereum on there, which is what you should have done in the beginning. How about them apples? And then Crypto Law, John Deaton's law firm, says, for those who spent the last 2 years ignoring the Ripple case and disparaging the warnings from the XRP community, welcome to the party, friends. And that there's some real little jabs that need to be thrown. Here's one that I threw last night. CoinDesk is saying, is Ethereum officially a security? Well, here's the bigger question. Remember that list of all the people from the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance who communicated with Bill Hinman May 2017 to December 2020? These are the people who were talking to Hinman, who many of whom would have known that they were going to create this fake regulatory clarity for Ethereum. Well, now that they're saying Ethereum's a security, if these people had an inside knowledge and owned Ethereum and were buying and selling Ethereum based on information they had communicating with the SEC, did any of these people commit crimes? That's my question. Okay, then we had the hearing yesterday, and I'll just play you part of this when those hearing, they were talking about crypto on some of this. And we're not done with Ethereum, by the way.
ETH and the SEC seem to be engaged in a regulatory turf war over digital assets. In December 2022, the CFT in a court filing declared Ether to be a commodity. Yet in February 2023, SEC Chair Gary Gensler, in an interview with New York Magazine, disagreed with the CFTC, declaring everything other than Bitcoin to be a security. Mr. Graywall, is it fair to say that the mixed messaging from the SEC and the CFTC and the regulatory confusion it creates underscores the need for Congress to step in and bring legal clarity to the status of digital assets?
I believe it does underscore that point, Congressman Torres. As you point out, if the chairs of two of the most important regulators applicable to our industry and to this part of the economy can't agree on the security status of one particular token, that obviously speaks to the challenge for anyone else looking to stay on the right side of the rules and make proper determinations that are in accordance with legal expectations.
Let me ask an uncomfortable question if any of you Ethereum maxis are listening out there. Let's say XRP gets clarity, and let's say that means that going forward, XRP and anything built on the XRP ledger is not a security. Do you really need anything else? That's the question. If you can build digital assets on XRP, you can build stable coins, you can build anything on the XRP ledger. If you have clarity for that one, and I'm assuming, by the way, since XRP is built on consensus, would Ethereum by default also be given clarity? Because it's a consensus mechanism too. If you had those two, would you really need anything else? Couldn't you build pretty much everything that has ever been built on Ethereum. Only difference being this would actually work, and it would be inexpensive, and it would be scalable. Do you really need the others? That's my question. Here's another clip from Congress.
Thank you, Congressman. I can certainly speak to that issue with respect to Coinbase's own experience as a platform that is regulated here in the United States. Just to give you some sense of the scope of our oversight, we have something like 45 money transmission licenses across the United States. We are also licensed as a bit licensee under New York law. At the federal level, we have a registered DCM, and we are seeking to register an FCM with the CFTC. We are also registered as a money services business, an MSB with FinCEN.
Okay, he's basically saying you can't register. Gary Gensler says, "Oh, you just fill out a form and come talk to us," and he's basically saying you can't. Then we've got this. This is a now. I want you to think this all through, folks. This administration and Gary Gensler and all these people, they could easily, if they really gave a rat's behind about building the crypto industry and keeping innovation here, they could easily, if I'm the president of the United States, easily, and of course I'm in my right mind, but they could easily step to the microphone and say, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop all enforcement actions. We don't want to harm this industry. What we're going to do is we're going to all get in a room and we're going to figure this out. That's what you do out here in the real world. You meet with people and everybody operates in good faith and they work things out if it's for the good of everybody, or in this case, for the good of the country. But that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is trying to create several battlefronts and shut it all down. Okay? Well, that shows you these guys aren't acting in good faith. And we even have, if we've seen anything, there's a question really about whether many of these people are compromised by China. So you have to wonder who in the hell they're really working on behalf of, because they're not working on behalf of Americans from what I can tell. Now, the U.S. Treasury Department proposes a 30% excise tax on crypto mining facilities. Well, the mining part of this, I don't really have a problem with, because I've never understood what proof of work's even for anyway. It doesn't work. It's a big waste of everything. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. Now, but I'm not pro increasing taxes on anything, so I'm not really for it. Now, I made this point. Nobody in crypto helped the XRP Army when the lawsuit was filed against Ripple over XRP. We've been in the trenches for over 2 years. I do admit that it gives me some satisfaction to watch these people finally get theirs, that watched us suffer without lifting a finger. They don't deserve it, but I will do what they wouldn't do for us and fight for the industry as a whole. Right after I take a few more jabs, let me get some of those jabs out of my system. Now, when I say take a few jabs, it might be 6 months worth of jabs, folks, coming. But after I get done, or at least I'll sprinkle in backing up the industry as a whole within that. But the first jab is, who's the shit coin now, Vitalik Buterin? Remember this tweet when the Ripple lawsuit, this is right around the time the Ripple lawsuit was dropped. Looks like Ripple XRP team is sinking to new levels of strangeness. They're claiming that their shitcoin should not be called a security for public policy reasons, namely because Bitcoin and Ethereum are Chinese controlled. And then, of course, there was this one. And this is a guy named Andrew Keys. He was the guy that was with Consensus he and Joseph Lubin, one of them or two of them, talked to Charles Gasparino. That's how for those of you that don't know, that's how Charles Gasparino got into all of this, folks. It's because I found this video that from 2018 where Charles Gasparino was covering on Fox Business. He was covering how those two guys were working with the SEC and the CFTC, and that's what eventually became the free pass. And it was a clip where he said it. And that's what we threw out there, and that's how these guys like Eleanor Terrett and Charles Gasparino got involved. I'll never forget it. One Saturday morning, I literally, I think it was a Saturday morning, and I couldn't believe what I was listening to. And I literally literally called up John Deaton and told and played it for him. It was like that. It was that kind of a moment. Now, so this guy was one of the guys that Gasparino was talking to. And so that's how we started looking into him. This is right after the Ripple lawsuit was dropped. He says XRP is a security, just to be a smart aleck. Now remember, we watched Joseph Lubin and these guys bragging. It wasn't enough to get the free pass. They were like, and we've all thought to this day that there was a plan to not just give them the free pass, but to slam the door on everybody else. And that's where it got really bad. Well, to him, I say, hey, Andrew, Ethereum is a security. All right, then I'm not going to play this because I don't want this video to go over too much. I do want to play this, though. This is Jeremy Hogan when he warned the Ethereum people about Ethereum 2.0.
The change to staking creates a problem first because the validators who stake their Ethereum do so with an expectation that their stake will earn them a return. That's the whole point of it. So that goes to the expectation of profit prop. And in its latest guidance released back in 2019 for digital assets, the SEC stated that when talking about whether there is a reliance on others to make profit, that an active participant is responsible for the development, improvement, or enhancement, operation, or promotion of the network, particularly if purchasers of the digital asset expect an AP, active participant, to be performing or overseeing tasks that are necessary for the network or digital asset to achieve or retain its intended purpose or functionality. Well, isn't the upgrade to Ethereum 2.0 exactly the type of thing that would raise the SEC's alarm system? Get the old Death Star fully functional, ready to destroy. Definitely seems like the SEC might see a promotion and improvement of the network by a semi-centralized entity with the rollout of 2.0. And now you have the profit to the stakers added to the equation. With that being said, Ethereum 2.0 injects a lot of attention and danger, and it gets a legal briefs danger rating of 6 out of 10.
Uh-oh.
Just ignore that.
I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. And tell your friends and family that I want to make sure everybody's clear. I've always wanted a level playing field. I don't think the SEC or the New York Attorney General or anybody else should be going after any of these things. I think they should have all created they should have created a framework a long time ago and at least had a moratorium on and said, look, we're going to let all this thrive or something. They should have done something. They should have all gotten in a room and figured this out. But instead, they decided to do the regulation by enforcement thing, which does nothing but tamp down innovation in this country. And they all ought to be ashamed of themselves. But unfortunately, they're all a bunch of arrogant SOBs, and I know they don't have any shame in their body.